working routine and comparing it with other people's working routine, do you consider yourself as an outsider to this world of factory workers and manufacturers? And do you think that, well, do you consider yourself as an outsider to this world?
Of course I am, you know. You're always, now it's been 10 years I'm a filmmaker and I don't need to find a job, meaning I earn a living and I pay my rent only with my work, writing, directing, and so you lose touch with this reality. I'm not saying this reality is superior or inferior to me, but you ask yourself questions at night. You know, every 3 nights I have my best friend works in a place like that. Actually, he's in the film. He's the guy smoking outside at some point, and I call him 3 nights a week, and he tells me about his day of work. I wouldn't say shitty day at work because he's never complaining. And then he asks me questions about the world of filmmaking, and that's how it came. So of course I'm an outsider. I cannot pretend that I'm like.
Do you think that being an outsider to that world influences the style, the point of the film
Of course.
in a positive, negative way, neutral way maybe?
Of course, and the goal is, like I said, not to be condescending on that world and find a good human level. So, yeah, you tell me if it's a pretentious look at the world of work, but it's not a documentary on work. So it's stuck somewhere in some abstraction, you know?
Yeah, no. No, I think it was good. Like,
you have to make a work of art.
Yeah.
You have to take what reality is giving you. I don't want to use a word like transcending it, but you have to make something arty out of the trivial and the unspectacular things the reality is giving you. You need to deal with that reality.
And really quickly, the other question would be, you said that, well, you didn't intend to show any kind of suffering in the film. But would you say that there's some kind of like existentialist suffering, some characters?
I think that you're going to do that job yourself in your head, because it happened to me with my film in the zoo. I wanted to film the animals in a very objective way, the most objective possible, and I discovered most of the people said it's an anti-zoo film. It's a film about how cruel men can be towards animals because they live in cages, but that was not my intention. So that's a job you do for yourself. If you think that was a total sadness looking at these people working, I can't do anything about it. I'm just sure that I didn't show people being sad or suffering. Like one of my favorite shots is the little girl smiling. She's like 7 years old. What is she doing there? So you could think, oh, it's a child exploitation film or something, but she's looking at us right in the eye, smiling. Who is she? She's not sad. So for me, it's like very an oblique way of looking at. But in reality, she was just there with her parents, and she was not going to kindergarten or school or something. She was just there. So there's no political or social commentary, but she's still there looking at us, and she's 7 years old in that environment. So I leave it to you. You know, the film is basically just a collection of impressions, and you do what you want with the puzzle. And I never watch social documentary or activist stuff or left-wing this, anti-that. I don't like those films. I like open spaces, and you do what you want with a film like that.
Thank you for clearing that.
There's another question here. Yeah, thank you for the film. I started to think about it, and right now I'm on sound and music. Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit more about? I mean, is practicing an instrument, is this work as well, or are there different levels of work? Yeah, I mean, we could see some people listening to music while doing their work, yeah, from the radio or something, or the tape machine.
I knew I wanted to make a very musical film. Sound design had to be very important in that film, because I was afraid that visually the film was only filming unspectacular stuff. So of course I was afraid. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the maximum in the sound design to make it more musical. And so the whole beginning with the machines, bang, 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 it's so tempting to have a whole film like that. It's very tempting. So of course the film is musical. They listen to music, and what I really like about the last scene of the kid playing the violin, for me it's like saying machines are perfect, we are not, and that's beautiful about us, that we're not perfect. So the musical side of things is more like the sensitive side of the film, because we can't do much with those machines, And so the film is musical, and I made sure to film those machines like they're a bit sexual in the film. In the film, those machines, there's something sexual about those machines. So when you make something like that, it's a little, I don't want to use the word radical, but austere. So you need to find parts that are more sensitive and appealing for the audience. You need to find sexiness in the unspectacular. So if you felt the film is musical, it's a good thing, it's a compliment, I think the editing is quite musical as well, and we try to cut before it hurts too much or it's too long, so.
There's a little gesture that I saw in the film that underlines what you just said about the sexual thing. When this guy is wrapping up the boxes and going round and round and round, at the end he just cuts the plastic, but then he gives this whole stack of boxes a little tap, like it's something that he just.
I didn't ask. So
Yeah.
You see, there's something about rituals, or there's something sexual there. Well, you use the word metaphysical. Yeah, it's somewhere. It's floating in these places, but it's not in your face. You need to find like the guy washing or putting air on the other guy. I don't know. For me as an artist, I see something homoerotic there. Why not? You go in these places, like if you give me that cinema, for instance, to make a film, I need to find something about that cinema. Maybe I'm going to do something with these lights, or I don't know, you need to find something sexy or poetic or sexual. So, yeah, that was the challenge of going in these quite boring places, actually. It's not very interesting.
Hello, Denis. Thank you for this movie. I was wondering what happens first? What was it, the idea of the documentary, of the fiction film?
I would say it was the idea of challenging abstraction. I knew I wanted to go further from Bestiaire, and like I said, how come people like that film so much? Can I do the same thing but with unspectacular stuff? Can I find some poetry and unspectacular stuff like that? So it was, how can you find sexiness in abstraction? That was the beginning. And then, is it called a documentary, a fiction? I don't know. My sales agent wants to sell the film as a documentary. You can't say it's a fiction. In French, we have this thing called film d'essai, essay film, which is very pretentious. Docu-fiction is so 2004. So how do you call a film like that? So you ask me documentary fiction, I really don't care, and that's what I like about not being able to put the finger on what that thing is. So you make those films and you're terrified. You don't know if it works, you don't know if there's an audience for that. The other night I was terrified. I'm like, oh, people are so bored, and everybody stays for Q&A, so that's what I like to do. And when you have no money, zero budget, if it's not good, it's going to be garbage. But at least I tried something. So I'm very proud to say that I don't care about labels.
Was it also you who put up the male pin-up on the wall?
No. No. Actually, that woman was working there, and she had this cheesy calendar of a naked guy. I'm like, whoa, we need to film that. But no, I didn't put it there. Good question. That was funny because it's only women working there, so they have their rituals as well. So there was this calendar.
What about the dialogue about Prince Charles and King Hassan IV?
By the way, if you know Morocco, Hassan IV doesn't even exist. Okay, I don't know if you know. So they didn't. But the actor, Guillaume, is an actor, and I think in the beginning of the film you don't know he's an actor because he's pretty good. He seems to be a non-professional, and so I told him, go see that guy. He seems to be interesting, and just talk about things. So we put microphones on them, and then Guillaume found that totally. He improvised.